what is data grid and metrics in Unqork. So in this display and layout section, let's start with the data grid. So if I just drag and drop this data grid component, this is the configuration window of this component, and here we can see few of the attributes which are not similar to the other components, right? Here the look and feel of this attributes, or there are completely different attributes for this data grid component. So let's first save this. I will explain you what are those, but before going to that, let me tell you what is the basic use of data grid component. So here we have drag and drop this component, and inside this component we can put whatever the other components that we want to add. So let's take an example. Let's drag and drop this text field from this section, and let's drag this other button also. Let's take a button today, okay? And I will just put this submit only, and just wanted to show how it looks on data grid. So now if I just refresh this page, so what you can see is this component, right? One text field that we have added, and the other is the button that we have added. So this is the this is a feature of data grid, right? Where the data grid provides this button by default, which is add new row, and also it provides this cancel button or delete button to delete this added row. If I click on this, we can see the number of rows are getting, each row is getting added below it, and with this we can delete it. So in this way, if we want this kind of a functionality where we want to repeat the components, we can use a data grid, and inside that we can just have this default feature. Okay, so we had seen the Angular command, so let's, with the help of Angular command, let's see when we enter the data here. Okay, I'm just entering a random data here. So if I want to see the data which is stored in the browser, right? So I can use this Angular command to see the, so I can use the Angular command to see the structure of the data which has been stored in the browser. So we have 4 rows and just 4 buttons is there. So if you want to see the data behind the scene, how it is stored, you can just hit that Angular command, and here I can see this DG. So why we are looking into DG as that key? Because whenever we have used this data grid, we had kept the property name as DG. So we are looking into this DG uh, key where the data is stored in array of object. So if you see here, we are having this array right over here, and inside that all those objects are there. So the data is stored in this fashion. So if I just expand this, this is what the data we are able to see. So this is very important in understanding the data structure, right? How it is stored, and if we want to manipulate this, and if we want to use this data to pass it to the API or some server, then we can get a hold of this object of array, this array of object which is stored, and we can just manipulate that data wherever we want. So this is the view use of data grid. And you might be wondering like why this submit button is not over here, right? So whatever the data or the components we have put, that should be something we are able to enter the content inside it. So submit button is something, it's a action button or an event button. So you won't be able to see that data of this button here, because we can't enter any details inside it, right? Just like in form we can enter the data, so in submit button we can't enter anything, or in button we can't enter anything. So that is why we are not able to see the button over here. So let's take some other example where maybe I will just delete this button, and I will take maybe the radio button. So I'll just drag and drop this radio button inside this, and let me just put some value over here, test value something. So value 1 and value 2. So these are, now it is there. Let me just add a label over here. So if I save this now and refresh this screen, you would be able to see a similar radio buttons which we have added, this radio button which we have added, and I can select the value. I can enter some value, and if I want to see now the data structure behind this, I can just hit the Angular command, and now I can go to the DG and see. You can see the data. So data is stored inside the array, and the type of a element which is stored inside the array is object. So this is the first object which is stored at 0th index, where we are having this value 1 of first radio button we have selected, and this value, and the same goes for the other. So in this way the data is stored inside this uh, structure when we use a component which is a data grid component. Okay, so let's take the another example, or before going to another example, let's just see few things that we can play around with this. So we can just set here what are the minimum length, what is the minimum length, what is the maximum length that we want. So this minimum and maximum length is the number of rows. So if I put here minimum length as 2 and maximum length as 5, so this means minimum 2 rows should be there in the data grid, and maximum 5 rows should be there. Okay, and here we can add the description also. So this is a test description, and here also we can add that CSS class as we have seen in the previous example or in the previous videos. And also we can just play around with that add row button or delete button from this uh, options which are present over here. And also we have this other things which is regarding the layout of that. So if I just make it stripped or bordered or hover, then we'll just see how it looks. So see, as soon as I have made that stripped, hover and bordered, this layout is getting pretty good now, right? So in this case we can just manipulate the, or we can just play around with the configuration of data grid, and we can have that. So if you see, now it is bordered and it is also having some good color on this. So in this way we can play around, but the data which is stored, it will remain same. It is, we are just changing the cosmetic or the UI properties, the stylings of this, but not the internal thing. It remains same, the structure would remain same. So as I have not selected anything, it is coming as blank over here. The second component uh, which is metrics. So if I just drag and drop this, you can see the configuration window of this. So here by default Unqork has given this property IDS survey. So as I have told, we can just modify this according to our need. But yeah, this is what for metrics survey is the property default given by Unqork. So let me just add it here as label here, something like metrics only. So okay, so let me add the column here. So you will see that what I'm doing. So as soon as I preview this, you will get the understanding what is this component about. Just hold it for 2 minutes. I'm just explaining you. So I have here added the values here as test, or instead of test, let me put it here as something as I have put here as agree. Then I will put it here as strongly agree. Disagree. Okay, and then maybe in the rows, let's put how was the, or maybe I can put video was good. Okay, this is the label I have put, and yeah, let's keep the value as same. And if I just save and close, how this render on the screen is this. So you might have seen this kind of a data capturing forms where in case of survey, right, where the question is asked and like you need to select any of that, right? Agree, strongly, disagree, or minimum, right? So in this way, like if there is any requirement where you want to have this where you have this use case, then you can use this metrics. Okay, and if I just save this and refresh, yeah, this is how it will look. And if you put it here agree, disagree, either of the one would be selected, just like the radio buttons. So the advantage is like we don't need to build our own logic to create this layout and create this kind of look and feel, right? This component is readily available in Unqork and we can use it with like couple of configurations on it. So here if I just again, so I have just entered this angular command over here to see the data structure of matrix. So if I go to the data, so yeah, DG was the previous one. Yeah, so here if you see survey, so our property ID was survey in case of our matrix, that is why this survey is coming, and this object is stored in this way, right? So we have selected agree, so that is why the key is video was good and the value is agree. So if I put it here strongly agree, yeah, so this the other value would be populated over here, nothing fancy. Yeah, so this is how we are like capture these things on a browser or in the UI, and the same data structure is stored at a backend. So this is stored in browser, right? We are not storing this on a database as of now. It is just we are keeping this on a browser, and then if we want to pass this data to some external API or to a database, then we can take this data and use it or like pass it in our request. So this is how like structure is. So again, there are a few things which are pretty straightforward, which are like if you want to change the display type to inline, then you can just toggle on this button to inline. And apart from that, there are few other fields which you can play around. So I think this all are pretty straightforward and we have covered this thing in the previous. But here we have this validation or data storage or stylings. So let me show you this. So what we have done is like we have just changed this display type to inline. So if you see the change on the screen, now it is populating as inline things. So video was good, instead of horizontal it is showing as vertical options. So now it is quite looking like a radio button. So yeah, this is how it will show. And again, the data structure would remain same at a backend when we see this using this angular command. Yeah. So by the way, when I'm just keeping the cursor over here and I'm just pressing the up arrow key to get a hold of previous command which is there in my browser. I'm just hitting the enter button. Okay, so I think that's it from the metrics point of view. If you are having any questions, just comment on the video